Dasam harate chayam kurmonga giva sarvasha indriya nirdiyarte pyas tasya pragya pratishtita. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as a tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. And once again, one who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as a tortoise draws its limbs within the shell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Purport. The test of a yogi, devotee, or self-realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. Most people, however, are servants of the senses and are thus directed by the dictation of the senses. That is the answer to the question as to how the yogi is situated. The senses are compared to venomous serpents. They want to act very loosely and without restriction. The yogi or the devotee must be very strong to control the serpents, like a snake charmer. He never allows them to act independently. There are many injunctions in the revealed scriptures. Some of them are do-nots and some of them are do's. Unless one is able to follow the do's and do-nots, restricting oneself from sense enjoyment, it is not possible to be firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. The best example set herein is a tortoise. A tortoise can at any moment wind up its senses and exhibit them again at any time for particular purposes. Similarly, the senses of the Krishna conscious persons are used only for some particular purpose in the service of the Lord and are withdrawn otherwise. Arjuna is being taught here to use his senses for the service of the Lord instead of his own satisfaction. Keeping the senses always in the service of the Lord is the example set by the analogy of the tortoise who keeps the senses within. Yada samharate chayam kurmo angiva sarvasha indriyarte pyas tasya prakya pratishtita. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as a tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Yes. Well, sense control is one of the main things in spiritual practice. This is everywhere, in our literature at least. You can find it everywhere, of course, because this is like requisite to be situated in spiritual consciousness. You cannot come up to spiritual consciousness with uncontrolled senses. There is no possibility. So this is the first thing, one of the first things one has to do at least. So as we see here, Srila Prabhupada talks about, in the scriptures there are many injunctions. Some things you have to do, like you have to get up in the morning early, go to take bath, and chant Hare Krishna, attend the program. These are do's. I mean, what we have to do positively. So there are some things we should avoid, do-nots. Like we should not eat meat, and we should be vegetarians. We should not use intoxication, and so on and so forth. So all these things make one eligible to go further in the spiritual consciousness. So these rules are so designed that we can get rid of the influence of the lower qualities. Because in this world we are always under some kind of influence of something. Usually, these are three, as you know, three qualities of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Passion and ignorance are not very good qualities. So when we are under control of them, so we are going down, basically. So these do's or do-nots, they are meant to elevate us to the position of goodness, of being purified, and so on and so forth. Anyway, let's see if we can find out. Oops. Good job. Yes, no? Okay. Yes. Okay. This is the way we would do the presentation at my work, for example. I'm a medical doctor. Well, we have to present some case or something. So we do it like this. Let's do it. Because spiritual science is a science as well. Anyway, let's define the agenda for today. What we have to talk about. This is senses. What are they? And what are the functions? And what are the objects of the senses? And what is the mind? Why do we need sense control at all? And how to get taste for it? I mean, how to like it? So, and what are the means to control the senses? So there are two kinds of control, like artificial and real one. So let's see. I think you should like this. No, the other way around. Okay. What are the senses? Senses are actually 10. We have two groups of senses. Knowledge acquiring, which is here. Ears, and I have put in brackets like the object of the senses, because one thing is you have ear, but what ear is supposed to perceive is the object. This is sound, and sound corresponds to element ether. Then we have tactile sense, which is touch, and air is the element of it. And then we have the eyes, and the eyes we have to see some light, some size, some shape, whatever. And then fire is the element. Then we have a tongue in terms of its taste function. When you eat something, you have to taste the food. So the water is the element to it. And the nose, which is the object is the smell, odor or something, and earth is in charge of it. So then, no, it doesn't really show, or what? Okay, somehow or other that doesn't show what I have. Down there, it says there are 5 more senses. There are acting senses. I mean, we have to act through them. These are hands, legs, tongue as an organ of speech. Then we have genitals, and we have the anus. Well, there is one more sense, actually, which is called 11th sense, which is mind. We cannot see it on the slide, but it's there. Mind is called the inner sense. Why? We can see it soon. It's like central one, which is in charge, which is like central pivot for all these 10 different senses. So, yes. We go further. Yes, mind, 11th sense, or center of the senses, inner sense. Mind, well, you see, senses do what? For example, eye sees a beautiful form, it likes it. Or just, senses are knowledge acquiring. Senses are just meant to perceive, get the information, get the input from outside the world. And then they send it to the mind, inside to the mind. And now the mind has to do either of these two things, sankalpa or vikalpa. Mind will say, okay, I like this form, or I don't like this form. These two things, acceptance or rejection. Or taste, for example, you taste something and the impulse goes to the mind, and mind tells, oh, this tastes very well, very good. Or, the opposite, doesn't taste at all, it tastes horrible, whatever. So like or do not like. Accept something or reject. So, yes. So mind is something which in conditioned life, in our normal materialistic existence, is very strong, very, very strong, and we don't have any control as usual. That's why we are here. But normally, the mind should be controlled by intelligence. The problem is that intelligence is not very strong in this world. Most of the most of us are not strong enough, intelligent enough to control the mind. So very soon we will see a very nice picture. Yes. See, somebody may ask, why should we control the senses? Yeah. So this is actually a very graphical picture depicting us, who we are. What do you think? Where are we? Which one is us in this picture? Anyway, there is a chariot, and chariot has horses. Horses have reins, these things, these ropes or something. And the chariot driver is holding them. And then in the chariot, there is somebody sitting, a passenger. So, yes?
You asked who we are.
Yeah.
So I can say who we are.
Okay. Oh, you.
I'll let you.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, who are we on this picture? Now, see, the horses, the senses are compared to the horses. And you see these horses, they are not very peaceful. They are very, very crazy, mad, basically. So, and you can see there are like different organs painted, like the eye, nose, and so on. So each horse represents our senses. And then the horses have the reins, and the chariot driver holds them. But you can see the chariot driver doesn't really have much control of them because he or she is totally terrified, and it looks like the horses are just running somewhere, everyone in their own direction, and going somewhere very far, and probably some dangerous place. Maybe they will just fall off the cliff or something. So it's a catastrophe pending. The chariot itself is actually the body. Is our body, is a symbol of it. And the passenger is us. One who sits there and, oh yeah, it's, just, totally controlled by the situation is the soul, is us who's sitting in the chariot. So this is very graphical and very picturesque example depicting, what's going on in our conditioned life when we are in the body, when we have the senses, and so on. So let's see what's next. Okay. Yeah, why should we control the senses? Because we don't want to get in really big trouble somewhere, fall off the cliff, whatever, die somewhere because in the catastrophe or something. So we have to control this chariot somehow or other. And the chariot is driven by the horses or by the senses. That's why if you control the horses, then you can slowly, drive the chariot. That's the point. So, senses, that's why we have to control it, because we avoid a huge trouble. For example, by following our rules and regulations, not smoking, not drinking alcohol, not eating meat, and things like that. So we have very good chance to be in charge instead of being controlled by the senses. So, yes. And when we get the control of the senses, when we can, get in charge of the senses, what we achieve actually all the good things in the world. Everything good comes because we get rid of the influence of the ignorance and passion, and we become fixed in the mode of goodness, in the quality of goodness. And the quality of goodness is characterized, when we talk about brahmanas, in India, brahmana is a big thing. Oh, I'm a brahmana. Yes, can you control the senses? If you don't control the senses, you are not a brahmana. Well, one of the first characteristics of a brahmana is self-control. which means, control of the senses and the mind. If you don't do that, so you are not a Brahmana. It's not enough to be born in a Brahmana family. So if we control the senses, we will be very peaceful. We will not see friends and enemies. We will not be partial. We will not see, so we will be just equal to everyone, equilibrity, equanimity, whatever. We will be very tolerant. You see, tolerance is a very good quality because sometimes you have nothing else to do than tolerate whatever situation you are in. Sometimes you may get sick and, go to 1, 2, 3 doctors, 10 doctors, nobody can really help you. So somehow or other you have to have the tolerance, you have to have the patience, so not to be unhappy all the time. So this is done by controlling the senses. Purity, you can become purified. Purity is a very good thing. It's not enough just to take shower. This is important thing to take shower, have clean clothes and things like that. But inner purity is very important. It's very, very important. And this is one of the side effects or just, good effects of sense control. Yes, honesty is very important. It's a quality of a Brahmana. It's a quality of somebody who is in the mode of goodness. And then knowledge, wisdom, and so on. We can just go on and on. There can be so many auspicious things by sense control. Oops. Yes. So how to control the senses? What are the means? What are the methods? So in our philosophy, in terms of our philosophy, it would be like different types of yoga, different means by which you can connect to the Supreme. Yoga means what? Connection, union. Yes. Yoga is, the idea is that we have to connect with the Supreme. We are always connected. We just forgot it. We are not aware of it. This is the main problem. So by yoga, we can become united with the Supreme. So, and yes, by, karma yoga means actually you perform actions without attachment to the fruit to it. You give everything to the Supreme. This is actually the real meaning of karma yoga. It's not just you do the sacrifice just to get very pious results and next life you get, you are born in a very rich family, whatever. This is not the whole point. This is fruitive action, which implies a lot of reactions. The idea is that you do things. You cannot just serve the Supreme directly, but you work for him. So this is the real meaning. But karma yoga has many different levels, of course. Jnana yoga, knowledge, you can cultivate knowledge. Modern philosophers, or not necessarily only modern, but many, many philosophers, what Prabhupada calls speculative philosophers. I mean, those who are not following the superior authority in the knowledge, they try to come to different conclusions by themselves. They are speculative guys. So these are not very much, we are not very much in favor of this kind of people or of this method. This is not real jnana. Jnana means actually understanding Krishna. So if you, this is a real one. But jnana can be all kinds of things as well. Materialists have lots of knowledge about matter, but, they are not necessarily connecting themselves. So then there is Ashtanga yoga, real yoga. Practice of physical exercises, sitting postures, breathing exercises, and mind control and sense control. So, and then finally is the one which is absolutely favored by us. This is Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the only subject of the whole Bhagavad Gita, by the way. All these other yogas are actually means to come to Bhakti Yoga. Krishna explains those other yogas in terms of bringing us to the conclusion that actually you have to become bhakta. That's the whole point. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Sorry. I have to go back. Yeah. So, of course, there are many problems. It's not easy to control the senses. This is not an easy process at all. Yes. Well, for example, you can restrain yourself from doing something. You know that this is not good to whatever, smoke or I don't know, something. And you may not do it, but within you, within the mind, we are dwelling, we are thinking about this thing. The taste of it remains. So this is kind of, if we don't engage our senses in some positive, better activity, just saying no to certain activities is not enough, because we will be thinking about it all the time. That's why the point is that we will come to it very soon. Senses have to have some positive engagement. And, senses are in Sanskrit called rishika. Rishika means the senses. In the plural, rishikena. Rishikena means actually something else. It's another declination. Anyway, the senses. Well, then we have somebody called Rishika Isha. Isha means what? The master, the Lord, the controller. Rishikesha, this is one of the name of Krishna. He is the master. He's the master of all the senses. Well, so long senses are not engaged in the service of Krishna, Rishikesha, they cannot be really controlled, because all the other the control method will be artificial. What does it mean, artificial? There's always very serious risk of fall down. Well, for example, yogis in the past, not nowadays so much, but in the past, yogis could control the senses very well. Vishwamitra Muni, for example, he was a great yogi. I mean, he was one of the greatest in the universe. He is one of the great. But once, who knows the story of Vishwamitra? What happened with him? There was a woman. What was her name? Menaka, a celestial woman, very attractive. And he actually fell down from his yoga practice because he was attracted to Menaka. And who was born? What was the name of the girl who was born by the union? Shakuntala. Yes. And so Prabhupada says there is a Kalidas wrote a nice drama about it's called Shakuntala, he said. Well, Shakuntala was born. Well, Vishwamitra, of course, he is so powerful. He's a great yogi and great devotee. But it wasn't enough just to be a yogi, because, even Vishwamitra could fall down. What to speak of all the others who are just below him. Anyway, this is kind of artificial means. Or the renunciation, for example. We say, okay, we renounce everything. I renounce the world. I go to the forest. Yes, I don't want the world. I mean, it's cruel, whatever. So, but this is also called the artificial renunciation by Rupa Goswami. Because what is the real renunciation? Using the senses in positive engagement, using them in the service of the owner of the senses, which is Hrishikesha, Krishna, or using everything, but just not renounce anything, but just using everything in the service of Krishna. This is actually acharyas. That's what they do. They always use the methods, the means, anything which is present at the moment to promote Krishna consciousness. Just for example, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati or Srila Prabhupada, they would devise the means how to use everything to propagate Krishna consciousness, like automobiles, for example. Yogis may say automobile is the devil's work, whatever. Oh, no. But Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, they would use them to preach. You see, we are using the microphone. Prabhupada would always talk about microphone. We are using this microphone, dictaphone, because he was translating, using the microphone and dictaphone. So this is a real renunciation. Nothing belongs to us anyway. So what can we really renounce? It's actually delusion. Anyway, well, all this artificial sense control and artificial renunciation can be a form of personal sense gratification. Yes, the taste for sense enjoyment. Actually, this is the verse which I read by mistake. This is next verse in Bhagavad Gita. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasa varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Through the embodied soul, though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. Something's wrong with the sound, Kirsi. Yeah. Can you fix it? No. Okay. All right. Anyway, so it's good to denounce sense objects, but if you have attachment to them inside, so it's not so good. Or in another verse in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that, by artificially renouncing the world, but dwelling on the sense objects inwardly. So this is actually not real sannyas. Real sannyas is the one who uses everything for the service of Krishna. Yes, and well, this one wonderful shloka from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, originally from Narada Pancharatra. Saropati vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchate. This is the one I was talking about, which means that if we use the senses in the service of the master of the senses, in the service of Krishna, then we will get rid of this false identification, sarva upati. Sarva means all, every. Upati means, false ideas, false conceptions. I'm this body, I'm man, I'm woman. All these things, all these identifications, which are actually very big sources of illusion, they will be cleared off, and yes. And well, this is actually a definition of pure bhakti, because this translation is another one. There are a few translations. So bhakti ruchyate means it means it's called bhakti. This is the definition of bhakti. You have to be free of sarvapati vinirmuktam, totally free of all designations. Tatparatvena nirmalam. You have to be purified, and then you have to use the senses in the service of the master of the senses. This process is called bhakti. This is the real bhakti. This is not artificial sense control anymore. This is the real one. So it's always good to bring some, evidence from Shastras, isn't it? So another one of the many nice verses, which teaches us how devotees can control the senses is this one. written by Prabodhananda Saraswati, which was one of the greatest devotees of Lord Chaitanya. I don't have the direct translation, but Kaivalam Narakayate means that, devotee of Lord Chaitanya thinks that Kaivalya, liberation, is just like a hell. I mean, merging into the Supreme is just is a hell. Tridashapur Akashapushpati. Tridashapur means all these heavenly planets, they are like Akasha Pushpa. Akasha Pushpa, Akasha means the sky, Pushpa means the flower. Flower in the sky, they don't grow in the sky. Or the eggs of horses. Horse doesn't put eggs, isn't it? So it's just a phantasmagoria for a devotee. Like, okay, this enjoyment in the heavenly planets is just like a strange thing. He thinks it's just illusion. And Durdantendriya Kalasarpa. Kalasarpa means venomous, very dangerous snake. And Durdantendriya means that, if the snake has removed its teeth, so it's not dangerous anymore. They cannot bite. They cannot, the poison is removed. They cannot give us the poison. So, and the whole idea is that, this can be achieved by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, by a devotee who has received the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He loses interest to all these things. And for him, the senses are not dangerous anymore, just like the snakes without their poisonous teeth. Yes. And, well, now we mentioned different senses. Actually, it says that which one is the main sense, main one? Which one we have to control? Tongue, yes. Very good. Ata Shri Krishna namadi na bhavet grahyam indriya sevon mukhe hi jihvado swayam evas puratyadaha. Which means that, Krishna cannot be understood by material senses because Krishna is totally spiritual. Our senses are material. So we cannot perceive Krishna by material senses. But if we start using our tongue in the service of Krishna, then we can become purified and Krishna can reveal himself to us. And tongue has two functions, taste and sound, or speech, isn't it? So if we always chant Hare Krishna and take Krishna Prasadam, everything will be fine. So if just very practical, Prabhupada would say, what's the problem with Krishna consciousness? You just come, chant Hare Krishna, dance in ecstasy, and eat prasadam. What's the problem? It's very easy, very simple, isn't it? But we have to chant very carefully. That's the point. So why don't we get taste of chant? We chant all the time, but we don't see Krishna. We don't have so much taste. No, not everybody. I'm talking about myself. So because we are not attentive, chanting attentively. Yes. One devotee, I think Trivikram Maharaj, he was just talking about, remembering Srila Prabhupada. And somebody was visiting Prabhupada, and Trivikram Maharaj was going and chanting and listening to what Prabhupada would say, but chanting at the same time. Then Prabhupada tells, are you listening carefully when you chant? They say, oh yeah, I try, Prabhupada. So, yeah, I know you try, but listen more carefully. Do it, because it's the whole point. If Prabhupada would say, meditation is totally difficult, isn't it? Controlling the mind by silent meditation is just impossible. It's just a fake. But if you chant Hare Krishna, the sound will attract the mind, and it will be just very easy to, concentrate on the sound. So this is sound meditation, just Harinam meditation. So it's very important. We have to chant properly. We have to pronounce things names very well. We have to pronounce them also quite, articulate very well. And we should not make mistakes, and we should not. Anyway, if we try our best, at one point, the mind will be purified. What mantra means? Man means the mind, isn't it? Tra means somebody, liberation of the mind. So there will be no stupid thoughts anymore, no materialistic thoughts. The mind will be just totally able to be concentrated on Krishna's holy name. When this is done, then senses are totally controlled. Senses will be just like this, limbs of the tortoise. It will be just drawn inside. Outside stimulation will not attract us anymore. We will be concentrating so much on the holy name, and then we can taste the holy name. And then we can do this thing called Kirtaniya Sadahari, which means that, we can chant Hare Krishna all the time. If we don't, once Brahmananda Prabhu, he was actually the first temple president in ISKCON in New York, 26th 2nd Avenue. So once at the evening program, Prabhupada was giving the class, and then there was some local boys, young boys making purposefully lots of noise. And Brahmananda Prabhu got up and went out and chastised these boys, get out from here, whatever. So after some time they came back, even more of them, because they were upset with Brahmananda Prabhu. So they made actually even more noise. And then he goes out and really chases them away. And then the boys became so angry at night or something. They actually threw the bricks or something at the window and smashed the window. And at that time, devotees don't have much money anyway. And at that time, they had really, really very little amount of money. So it was really a big problem for Srila Prabhupada, for everyone. So, and when Srila Prabhupada comes down and sees what happened, so he kind of looks at Brahmananda Prabhu, and Brahmananda understood, he's not happy what I have done. If, Brahmananda Prabhu could realize that Prabhupada said, he meant that, he was not really, disturbed by this noise they were making. For him, it didn't matter. It was actually for Brahmananda himself. So he had to just be quiet. He should not take initiative and do some kind of service to his. This was actually it was not good service actually turned to be. So then Prabhupada says, when chanting stops, Hare Krishna chanting stops, the Maya comes. Somehow he said like that. So, showing that, you have to chant all the time, otherwise you will do some wrong actions. So the idea is that Kirtaniya Sadahari is very important all the time. Chant Hare Krishna all the time. And it's actually possible. It doesn't mean that you have to have beads all the time, but it means, you always remember Krishna. You always are focused on Krishna. That's the whole point with Kirtaniya Sadahari. So, if we do that, then sense control is not a problem at all. Hare Krishna. Jai.